gonna be. No matter what comes our way, we'll be together.
Welcome to Homeschooling Down South. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kat. We're two Southern homeschooling mamas sharing real talk, resources, and inspiration for life and learning in the Southeast.
Each week, we'll chat with inspiring voices in the homeschool community, highlight must-see nature spots and field trip gems, and share resources from across the region.
Whether you're new to homeschooling or a seasoned pro, pull up a chair and join us as we celebrate the joy, freedom, and community of homeschooling down south.
We'll laugh together, we'll learn together, find the joys in life together, give each other grace and space to
Welcome
breathe.
back, y'all.
We're so excited to be back with you. We're talking about nature today.
And Kat is going to tell us all about her amazing trip to the Chattahoochee Nature Center.
Yes, and in fact, it's 2 trips to the Chattahoochee Nature
that's
Center.
right.
And that's something I really want to dig into a little bit today. But we'll kind of back up and start with how I got there, how I found Chattahoochee Nature Center, and what we went and did. But it's a great spot. It's in Roswell, Georgia. So if you're familiar with the Atlanta area, it's just outside of the perimeter. It's kind of nestled into a little bit of like a residential area, and you wind your way along the Chattahoochee River and you end up at the Chattahoochee Nature Center. And it's a lovely spot. We didn't go to like a homeschool day or program, but they do offer like homeschool groups can come. And so we found it because we were studying beavers. My son last year picked an animal each month that he wanted to learn more about. And so for the month of January, my son wanted to study beavers. So I started wondering, is there a zoo somewhere that has a beaver? Or is there a pond nearby where we live that researchers are studying them in their natural habitat or something?
Right.
And what I learned is that not a lot of zoos house beavers. There are a couple in the US, but they were just a little further than I wanted to go to. One of them was actually the Knoxville Zoo, which would be lovely. I want to go there, but
Sure.
we talked about going, but it just felt just a touch too far for like a day trip in January
Yeah.
with everything else that we had on our calendar. And I did find some really cool online resources of people who are studying beavers, and they have like live beaver cams in different areas. And so we did some of that.
That's so fun.
Yeah. But then I was really excited when I realized that there is a beaver at the Chattahoochee Nature Center, which is just about an hour from us. So what was really fun about the first time that we went back in January is my husband had just adjusted his work schedule so that he would have Fridays off, so that he could come on some homeschool adventures with us. Not all of them, because sometimes he would be needing to do projects around the house or, just maybe like some time to himself as a dad and husband who works all the time and, would like to sit and
Right.
read a book every once in a while. But he knew that Fridays were sort of our adventure day and our flow. And so he wanted to be able to come on some of those. So this was actually the first one after he adjusted his schedule that he was able to join us. And so we did the drive down. It was a rainy day, but we decided to go for it. And we got there and we were like the only people there that day. We had the place to ourselves, and it was raining, but we were prepared for it. We had all of our rain gear on, and we got to the visitor center, which is lovely. Inside the visitor center, when you go downstairs, they have an exhibit that tells you all about the watershed there that's around the Chattahoochee River. It gives you some information about animals that live there. It gives you information about how the river ecosystem works. But they also have this cool area, and this is great for homeschool families, where you can register your kid with their trading post. And they have monthly activities like scavenger hunts that are different each month based on the season and what's going on at the nature center. But they also have other activities that your kids can do. The kids can collect points, and with those points, they can buy something from their nature store And their nature store is completely supplied with found nature objects.
I have a question. Okay, so when you're talking about the scavenger hunt, is that like you take home the scavenger hunt and you're doing it in your environment? Or is it you need to come there monthly and do the scavenger hunt there?
Great question. It is a monthly scavenger hunt there at the nature center.
Okay.
So let's say it's the middle of winter, which is when we went. They might have you looking for fallen leaves while you're there at the nature center.
Okay.
So they think about what you're going to see while you're there exploring, and they put that on the scavenger hunt, and then you bring it back to them when you are done exploring. You
Okay.
take those earned points and you can, in quotes, buy with your points things from their trading post. And the trading post is completely stocked with things that are brought in as found objects in nature. So they have things like butterfly wings and animal skulls and cool rocks and
Whoa, that's cool.
yeah. And so the other thing you can do is you can find things in nature and take them there and donate them to the trading post and earn points. So if
Okay,
you live,
that's really cool.
yeah. So if you live somewhere where there's like a ton of rocks, go collect some rocks, but you're not finding any like animal bones and your kid really wants to explore those. Go collect rocks, take them there and trade them in. Or like, here's one that I think is really cool. You go to the beach, and since Chattahoochee Nature Center isn't near the beach, they're like always wanting things like shells and
Oh.
driftwood, things like that. So there's all kinds of stuff in there, and they also have books that you can sit and read, and it's like a great place that you could go and actually do a study in their space. It's indoors, it's air conditioned, and there's someone working there who can help you, like sitting at the desk, who if you have questions about we're studying beavers, they could direct you to like the beaver section of their library. So it's very, very homeschool friendly in there.
Okay, so at this point where you've walked in, you're in this lobby-esque space or whatever. Have you paid any money at this point?
So I jumped ahead a little bit. Yes. So we walked into the visitor center, which is when you walk into the visitor center, you're in like their gift shop.
Okay.
And that's where you purchase tickets. So we walked in, we paid, and we said, "We're here to see the beaver." And they said, "The beaver had to go to the doctor this morning.
Aw.
She needed a checkup, and she had got put on some medicine while she was at the doctor this morning." And that's all on site. They have their own little like vet clinic on site. So she hadn't left the nature center, but she had left her exhibit. And they said she just got put back in her exhibit, but we hear she's very sleepy and not feeling so good. So you might not see her today. We just want to let you know. And they were really great about it. They let us know that and said if you don't want to leave and come back another day and you don't have to pay, that's fine.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah. But I said, you know what? We drove an hour. Let's try. Let's go try. And I didn't go on a homeschool day. They don't have homeschool days. They just have lots of programs that are great for homeschool families. So we paid the full price, $21.55 per adult and $15.09 per children 3 to 12. And then children 13 to 18 are $17.24. Those are some interesting extra cents there on the ends
Very,
of those
very
prices.
specific.
Very
I
specific.
wonder if that's like a tax thing or if that was intentional. It means something.
Well, it is a nonprofit. So there might be
Okay.
some like nonprofit reason,
Sure.
the finances are different for a nonprofit. So we bought our tickets and then we made our way downstairs. And it's the downstairs of the visitor center where you'll find that water exhibit and then also that trading post and learning space. They also have a theater and they sometimes run programs about different animals. So you can check their schedule ahead of time and see what kinds of special things they're running before you go. And if there's going to be any special presentations or video presentations. So the inside is really lovely. There's also a rooftop deck where you could, if you wanted to bring your lunch, you could sit out there and eat. They let you bring your own food in. They don't sell any food there. So be prepared if you're going to be there across lunchtime, bring your lunch, or, if your kids need snacks, make sure that you come prepared. So then we wandered out in the rain and we took a stroll. The first thing that you encounter when you go on their main trail, and they have several trails, the first thing that you'll encounter is they have a bunch of wonderful birds. They have 2 eagles. They're my favorite. And they have a bunch of different kinds of owls. They have both the barn owl and the barred owl, as well as the great horned owl. They have a bunch of raptors. So they have hawks and falcons. And so you wander through there and like you're definitely going to see the birds when you're going through. They're not, the eagles are the only ones that have a really large enclosure, but the other ones you're going to be able to for sure see some birds anytime that
Okay.
you go. You walk by this beautiful pond that they do offer in warmer months. They offer different boating options like canoeing and kayaking on special days. I don't think it's just any old day. And then we wandered on over to the beaver exhibit and we walked through. We didn't see a beaver. She wasn't there. She was inside sleeping. We called to her. We asked her to come out. My son did some beaver calls, which I don't know what a beaver call is, but
Wish
mostly
I wish you had that recorded. I
just
would
my
have
son
loved to see it.
shouting. Just my son shouting at a wild animal.
That's
Fine.
amazing.
And so we said, okay, she's probably still sleeping. Let's go do a little something else. And they had a trail on the map. I looked down at the map and there was a trail called Beaver Pond Trail. So I said, well, let's go walk that since that's
Yeah.
what we're here to do. So we went for a lovely hike on Beaver Pond Trail. It was short, it was easy. And what ended up being so great about it is while we didn't see any beavers on the pond, there were lots and lots of trees that had been chewed by the beavers.
Oh,
And
I love that.
we could see the things that we'd been studying about how beavers use their teeth and like what they leave behind and what they keep, what they eat, what they use to build the dams. We were able to see some dam building that had probably started and been stopped by the folks who work at the nature center or someone else. But we were able to see some of the habitat.
Sorry, I just had this image. I saw this meme of this beaver, and it's like, how do you think beavers one day decided to start building dams? And it's like this beaver standing by a river, and the beaver's like, you know what? I'm not really into this. I think this water ought to be stopped right here. Let's make that happen. And when you said that, that's like all I could think about is like the beaver starts building this dam, and the people are like, oh yeah, we're not going to do that. And the beaver's like, what the heck? What's happening?
It's
like,
happening.
The beaver's being gaslit. Like, why? Why do they keep messing up all my hard work?
Poor beavers. They're just trying to make a home.
So funny.
That is funny. But we got to see all this stuff that we had studied, even though we didn't actually see the animal. It was pouring rain, but like it was memorable. I actually like those times when we're out in nature and maybe the weather isn't exactly what we would have hoped it would be or things like that. Because I actually think that then we carry that memory even closer. And it was special too because Dad was with us. And so we walked back to the beaver habitat and she still wasn't awake and out. And so we said, well, that's okay. And I think that was a good lesson for my son too.
Yeah.
We had an
Yeah,
expectation.
when you're dealing with nature,
Yes.
I mean, just like with the weather, inevitably you're gonna, I mean, you can't control that. You can't control the animals. I mean, I know when we go to the zoo, we have to have the talk like, hey, they might be sleeping or, their habitat might be being cleaned. We don't know what's going to be going on at the time that we go.
Yeah. And I think it's just a good practice in unmet expectations.
Yeah.
We had an
sure.
expectation. It's not what we'd hoped for, but that doesn't mean that our day has to be ruined or that we can't still find good in this experience or outing. So I think it was great for that. And we had a great family day the rest of the day. Like we ended up going out to lunch and, getting ice cream, like those special things that you do on like a fun family outing. Well, fast forward a little bit. We, with our Wild and Free group, you and I and the rest of our group, we made a pollinator garden in our community last spring. We learned a ton about butterflies and hummingbirds and bees and the different flowers that they like. And through that experience, someone mentioned to me at some point, I think it was one of the other moms in our Wild and Free group, have you ever been to the Chattahoochee Nature Center's Butterfly Festival?
Okay, I don't think I realized that those. I remember hearing about the Butterfly Festival, but I don't think I put those two together.
Yes. And I said, I've been there to see their beaver, but she wasn't there. But tell me more about the Butterfly Festival. And the mama in our group started telling me about how you can go and they give you like a sponge that's soaked in nectar and the butterflies land on you. And I said, well, that sounds
So fun.
fantastic.
Yes.
I'm gonna pay attention, especially since I do wanna go back sometime. I'm gonna pay attention to when this butterfly festival happens, and it turns out it happens basically the entire summer. I thought it was gonna be, like, a single weekend, but there's, like, a date in June that it starts, and they have, like, a special kickoff event that I'm sure has, like, extra frills and things, but
Sure.
the butterfly pavilion is just open all summer and is included with your admission ticket.
Okay.
So we picked a date in July, just my son and I this time. We went in the middle of the week so that hopefully it would be less packed. And it was not horribly packed. It was very hot that day. So, kind of polar opposite of what we'd experienced in January with the cold and rain. It was like
Yeah.
90 degrees and sunny. And we went back to the Chattahoochee Nature Center. We ended up not doing the scavenger hunt that day because it felt a little bit advanced for my son. It was like asking kids to read signs and things and mark down, and I just felt like I was gonna do all the work.
Sure.
It's 90 degrees. I don't need to be carrying
Right.
something else. I'm good. So, we arrived right around lunchtime. I brought our lunches this time, and we found a really nice spot next to the pond to eat our lunches. It was beautiful. And then we wandered through the birds again. We saw the eagles. They were chattering at us while we were eating. And then we got to the butterfly pavilion. And it's really well run. So you get one of those paint brushes that has the sponge instead of a brush,
Yeah.
and it's pre-dipped in the nectar, and you leave all your stuff, so you're not carrying a bunch of stuff. You park your stroller, whatever stuff you have, and then you go into a greenhouse that is full of flowers that pollinators love,
So
and
cool.
it's full of butterflies.
Oh my
And
gosh. I
you
would love it.
just kind of gently put your paintbrush out, like next to a flower, and the butterflies will walk onto it or land on it because butterflies taste with their feet.
Yes.
So they come and they walk onto your, and then they don't really want you touching them. So you're holding them on the sponge. But if they land on you, that's okay. You can just kind of let it hang out and try to get it to
Yeah.
walk onto your sponge.
Yeah.
We were in there for probably 30 minutes. My son was just captivated with this whole experience. I got to do a couple butterflies, but then eventually he said, Mommy, I'm going to have both of the brushes. And so then I just kind of followed him around. It was full of monarchs that day. And I do think that it's different butterflies, throughout the season, but it was full of monarchs the day we went. And then there were also a couple other species that I can't remember, but there was there was one yellow swallowtail, and I just kept following her
Aw.
around because I love swallowtails. I know monarchs are all the rage, but I'm a swallowtail fan.
Do they have plaques like throughout that tell you about like the different type of butterflies, or are you like very much in a nature space?
So it's not plaques, but there's posters on
Okay.
the wall where you enter that have the different types of butterflies and pictures of them so that you could, take your paintbrush up to that and see what kind of butterfly it is that you're holding. And then
Okay.
there's some
That's cool.
information about butterflies just in general up on the walls. And there are volunteers in there. So if you have questions or you need help, there's someone right there.
Remind me again when this ends, like what the date ranges are.
Let me see. I know it lasted through July. I can't remember if it went through August or not. Let's see. Through August.
Hey.
Yes, through August, they have the butterfly encounter. And if
Okay.
you're a
Well, it looks
member,
like
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it looks like this may be something that my family needs to check out because I think we would really like this.
Your daughter is really into butterflies right now.
Really into butterflies right now.
Yeah. So it's really cool. And if you are a member of the Chattahoochee Nature Center, they do have special members only butterfly events throughout the summer as well. I don't know what those
Ooh.
look like because I'm not a member. Yeah. So it was lovely. It was super fun. It was hot inside the greenhouse. It was like hotter inside the greenhouse than it was outside.
Sure.
But we finished up with the greenhouse and I said, you know what we're right next to? We're right next to the beaver's house. Let's go see if she's there. And we walked down and she was out. She was swimming around in
Yay!
her little pond. It was just him and I there. And we got to stand there and it just felt like this thing we had been waiting for months. And I had never seen a beaver so up close. And after learning so
Yeah.
much about them, it was cool to see her little feet and the way that her paddle tail attaches to her body. She went swimming for a bit and then she got out and she started grooming. And my sweet son said, Mommy, please step back. I think she would like her privacy. I
I love it.
said, "That's really thoughtful of you." It was cool. We got to finally see this beaver, and it was maybe even more exciting than if we would have seen her in January because
Sure.
we had waited and been
Yeah.
patient and got surprised with this beaver encounter. And she just was really cool to watch. I could have stood there and watched her all day, but my son he checked the box and he was ready to move
Right,
on.
right.
And since it was a nice day, we decided to hike a little more than we had the previous day. Or the previous visit. So on this day, we walked the opposite direction from where we had hiked before at Beaver Pond, and we hiked down to the river area. And there's a whole river trail that tells you about the different river environments. But also, what's really cool is there's a way to walk across the road, and there's a gated entry onto the Chattahoochee River's trail system. And so we did a little bit of hiking on that and getting right up close to the river and getting to see some animals in their natural environment. We saw some birds and I think we saw some fish jump. And then we hiked back into the nature center and they have a couple different play areas. So they have one play area that is like a bat environment. So the kids, there's
Oh,
no
but no real
bats.
bats.
No real bats.
Okay. I was like,
So
"No."
it's like a stump. It's not a real stump, but it's probably
Yeah.
plaster or something that they've carved, and they've carved bats in different positions so that you can see how bats sleep. And the
Cool.
kids can climb in there and, kind of feel like a bat. And then there's also a free play area. So there's like a little playhouse, like a wooden playhouse. And then there's some different chimes and things so that they can make music and just free play in nature, right? And let them be self-directed for a little bit in that environment. So we did some of that. And then the other thing I love is that as you're leaving, or not leaving, but going back up to the visitor center, which you walk through to exit, there is the most beautiful staircase painting I've ever seen of two herons, and it's so cool. And we'll put a picture up on social media with this episode. But it's such a cool, like each step together makes the full picture, right? So you can't
That's
see it unless you're
cool.
standing at the bottom. And there's flowers and birds, and it's like three separate stair steps, or like stair, what am I trying to say? Three separate levels of
Yes.
stairs high. It's
Sets of
huge.
stairs.
Sets of stairs. Yes, thank you. It's huge. So you're standing at the bottom and you're like looking up a hill and seeing this incredible nature art on the stairs. And you enter back into that trading post area. So if you had done the scavenger hunt, you have the opportunity to go turn in your scavenger hunt sheet and see what points you have. The other ways your kids can earn points, like they earn points in their birthday month. So we had actually intended to go back during my son's birthday month, but the calendar just got very full and we had family visiting. And then, like I said, they can do like the activities that are there at the nature center and earn points. And they can also bring in found nature objects to trade in. So you enter back in through that area and then up back through the gift shop, of course, because that's how most
Of course.
experiences
Right.
end, is in the gift shop. And we always have a really hard time pulling ourselves out of there. Both my son and I, he wants to get some nature figurines, and they do have a really great selection of nature books, which I
Yeah.
have a hard time not buying. And it's in a really convenient location. So on that day in the summer, we brought our lunches in, but we did go find some ice cream again. It was so hot. I had to have ice cream as like a carrot at the end of the hike. But it is in a really convenient area because it's right in the heart of Roswell. It's really easy to go find a meal or a treat after you're there. It's not, I think sometimes when we think about nature experiences, it feels like, well, I'm going to go out into the middle of nowhere and be really
Right.
remote, which I think those are great experiences too. But it's also nice, especially if it's like a homeschool day or a family outing. It's nice to be able to then feel like you're nearby stuff too when you experience nature. So it's a really great spot. I highly recommend it. Look at their calendar, looking into their programs. They have summer camps. My son is still a little young for them, so I didn't look into them too much, but they do have summer camps. They're week-long day camps, and I think that's where some of the kids get to do activities like the boating and on the pond and things like that. When we were there was a summer camp going on, and they were using parts of the nature center that I think are private for those kinds of groups and things. So like there's parts that we haven't even explored because we weren't part of a camp or a program that was going on. They also do things like weddings. When we were there
Oh,
in
how
January,
fun.
yeah. When we were there in January, there was a couple checking it out as their wedding venue. So it's, like many nonprofits, there's like a lot of different stuff going on. It's worth checking it out, following them on social media, and looking at their calendar before you make your plans to go to see what kinds of programming are running. And if you're close enough, they do homeschool group field trips. I didn't end up planning one for our nature group because I just felt like it's a little bit farther than our radius that we try to stay within. But if you are closer, or even if you're not closer, but you are with a group that likes to travel a little bit farther, that would be a great spot to set up a field trip. They do have an education department that you can reach out to and work with.
Did they tell you about, I did a little like Googling because I don't like to go in completely blind. Did they tell you about the Homeschool Naturalist program?
They didn't.
Okay, so I'm going to read you the little blurb from their website. It says, let Chattahoochee Nature Center be your outdoor classroom. Homeschoolers can enjoy our Homeschool Naturalist program, a quarterly educational series, and many families and co-ops also enjoy booking a naturalist-led program, like you were talking about, those group things, or making reservations for their own visit, enjoying Chattahoochee Nature Center on their own time. No matter what your learning needs are, CNC is here to help you connect to nature and share the love of learning outdoors. So what it is, it's a series, the Homeschool Naturalist program is a series for homeschoolers ages 5 and up. And they meet the second Tuesday of every month from 1:30 to 3. So like the next one's September 9th. For the rest of the year, it's September 9th, October 14th, and November 11th. But yeah, it's like you don't have to take a group. You just come and can join with other homeschoolers and do that. And if you can't visit, they have a link on their little homeschool page that says, no problem, explore our online learning resources. So they even offer resources if you can't visit.
That is great. I bet because when I was there, I had the conversation with the women with the education department when we were there in January, and my son was still 4. So I bet that's
Oh.
why that didn't enter into the
Probably.
conversation.
Yeah.
That is great to know. I'm going to go check that
Yeah.
out as soon as we are done.
Yeah. So it says on here that it's $70 per student if you're a non-member, $50 for a member. And what I don't know is that that's the price for the year, or is that the price per like visit? It feels like that would be the price because you're paying for the program.
Yeah,
You're paying for the series.
that would make the most sense to me.
Yeah. So I think that would probably be it. I am also going to do some digging, and I will give an update on a future episode once I find out more information. But I'm curious if they offer military discounts, either to just go, one-off visits or for a membership.
Yeah. I thought about that for you
So,
too.
yeah, I can't. I've been trying to look it up, and I can't find anything specific, but I'm very intrigued with the butterfly thing, with just the extra resources and the things that they can do. My kids love a scavenger hunt, and being able to do that and keep them engaged along the way. Because, a lot of these natural things, naturally occurring things, sometimes feel less stimulating. And in this day and age, our children are used to just overstimulation, constant stimulation. And so it's sometimes hard to keep them engaged. But when we visited Stonehenge last summer, they had a whole thing because they have this village at the beginning before they bus you to actual Stonehenge. And they had these posters all around, and your kids get a little book and they can go around to each poster and learn something by doing the activity at that poster. So that kept them engaged throughout the process, and it gave them some autonomy as well. We're not just here because mom and dad want to see this. We're not just here to see this thing. We actually get to participate and be a part of it. And this is something for us.
Yes.
So I love that they have that option. And I mean, truly the butterfly thing, it looks like it might end on the 24th of August because there's an event for members only that says Butterfly Bon Voyage. And so I'm gonna do some work when we get done recording and try to see if I can't figure out how to get my family there before these butterflies go away.
Before the butterflies fly away. And you know what's great about the scavenger hunt and the other things that kids can do to earn points is it gives them something to work towards. And so I think this is where I just want to have a little bit of a conversation about going back to the same natural place over and over again, whether it's a nature center or a state park or even just your neighborhood park, even your yard, but making sure that you go to these nature places in different seasons
Yep.
over year to year because some really cool things happen for kids when you let them experience the same place over and over again. And I know it can feel hard because there's so many things to do. And so it feels like, well, we did that place. We don't need to do it again. We checked it off.
Right.
But when you keep going back in different seasons, kids have the opportunity to observe how the world changes, but then also how you can count on it to come back the same. And I think there's
I
some
love
really
that.
beautiful lessons.
Yeah.
And also just even our experience of going and having unmet expectations and then going again for a different purpose, but getting that surprise of that hope we'd had before from nature. And the other thing that I think really can happen when you take your kids to the same place over and over again, and nature is a great place for this, is you can see their growth. We were here 6 months ago, and maybe my kid wasn't able to do this hike, but now they can. Or we've come here every year. I talk about this with strawberry picking every year. Watching my son, because we started strawberry picking with him when he was 1.
Oh,
And
wow.
I mean, he didn't really pick strawberries. He just got strawberry juice all over himself, right?
He just ate them before they made it into the
Yes,
basket.
yes. But we've gone every April or May since then. We've not missed a year. And it's really fun to see how much he's grown, how much more he can do, how much more he knows. And so when you go back to the same place and do the same kind of activity over time, you get this reward of seeing how much growth your kid has had. And if you're constantly going to new places, then there's not the same opportunity for you to observe that in your kid. And so I'm thinking about getting a membership there because I want to encourage myself to keep going back to the same place over and over again. And it does seem like there's some really cool things that happen for members, and you get some discounts here and there or some special events. So, and I think you get discounts as well on like you were mentioning on the naturalist program that you were reading to us about. You
Yeah.
get discounts on things like the summer camps too if you're a member. So
Yeah.
it's just a really cool place. It's really well run. The people are very knowledgeable and friendly and helpful, but at the same time, they're not hovering. Like, you have a lot of space to feel like I am just in nature with my kid, enjoying this, and you don't feel that intrusion unless you need help. You don't get that like interruption of someone else. It's really beautiful and peaceful and so much fun. So, yeah, if you are in the Atlanta area or you're going to be visiting Atlanta, then I highly recommend checking out the Chattahoochee Nature Center. Look ahead, look at their calendars, see what things are going on when you're going to be nearby. It's a great spot.
Yeah, and I want to note that having a membership through them also gets you access to nature centers across the US. There's a whole list of them. And so if you maybe don't live in Georgia, but live somewhere and you're a member of a nature center, your membership might cover the Chattahoochee Nature Center. So if you do come to visit, you could go.
Yeah, a lot of nature centers, zoos, aquariums, they will do these programs where they either you get into their other nature centers or zoos with your membership, or you get some sort of like discount or benefit for being a member of one when you go to another. So it is worthwhile to look into nature centers in your area and see what kinds of opportunities are there and look into the memberships because you never know how that could help you out when you're traveling too. It's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have a homeschooling win to share with us from the nature center trips?
Yeah, my homeschooling win from going I saw it on our second visit. My homeschooling win that day was just how much my son has learned about nature, his own interest. As we were hiking over the river, he was telling me the names of birds that he saw. Mommy, that's an egret. Mommy, that's a blue heron. He was telling me about how rivers work. He was telling me about how this marshy area that we were walking over, how it supports animal life and plant life and keeps the river healthy. As we were walking and he was telling me all this stuff, I sort of was thinking, did I teach him this? I don't feel like I don't remember sitting down and explaining things in this way, but just by being out in nature so consistently, and I'm probably just peppering things a little bit here, a little bit there, and then he's making his own observations and he's connecting his own ideas to what he sees, it just made me realize how much we're designed to learn and how just exposure to things really can amplify the learning, and that I think we put so much pressure on ourselves. I have to teach my kid this thing. But
Yeah.
really he wants to learn it. Our kids want to learn. And when it's done in this way that we get to do in homeschooling, where we get to just slow down a little bit, take the pressure off, and experience things, then the learning is just really beautiful and natural. So that was my win
When
that day.
I think it clicks, it sinks in, it sticks for them when they are experiencing it firsthand. They're not just sitting down doing work in a workbook. And, I love a good workbook because I like those boundaries of this is what I'm supposed to be teaching and this is how I'm going to teach it. But I think a lot of times the learning holds more weight when they get to experience it firsthand. We're not going to read about rivers in a book. We're going to go hang out by a river. We're going to watch a river. We're going to watch the wildlife that, comes to the river and, or, you're reading a story. What is the phrase that you
Living
use?
books.
Living books. You know exactly what I was thinking. I do think those things make a difference as well.
I agree. And one of the things that I like about the Charlotte Mason method is one of the things she believed in formal lessons, right? It wasn't that she didn't have formal lessons, but what she encouraged mothers and teachers to understand is the concept might not and probably won't click during the formal lesson. It will click when they have time to think about it, move their body, imagine about it. And different kids need different aspects of this. Go be outside, experience the thing that they read about or heard about, and then it starts to click. It doesn't click just because you read some information to them out of a book or they saw it on a worksheet. It takes some time to let that new idea scaffold in with what they already know. And they oftentimes need some freedom away from the structure to let it click. And it's not that one thing is more important than the other. It's that learning requires both things. And so it's just really fun when you get to see the fruit of that. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, 2 great days. I'm sure there will be many
Yeah.
more for our family. Hopefully, there might be a butterfly experience for your
Yes.
family soon. So, it was a great time. It's just a really great place. Like I said, it's very convenient. Especially, this is something I should have said earlier, but I'll say it now. Especially if you're someone who says, "Well, nature is just not my thing. I don't know how to get out in nature. I don't know how to get my kids out in nature." These are the kinds of things that can be some first steps. Like, don't if nature feels overwhelming and kind of scary to you, don't go out on a rural mountain hike that's 4 miles long. Go to a nature center where there's support and resources and some structure and a nice air conditioned building to go into.
Right.
Don't push yourself that far outside your comfort zone. Take the first step, which is going somewhere like a nature center.
Yeah, and that feels really right for our family because I am that person who is not just going to venture off. Now, my husband, 100%. He's been traveling a lot for work, and somebody said the other day, like, "So what are you? Are you actually working on these trips, or are you just like going places to hike?" Because he keeps posting pictures of him being off hiking, and that's him. Like he'll just, "Hey, I found a cool trail. I'm gonna go check it out," and that is just not me. I need a plan. I need to know what we're gonna encounter,
I want there to be a
and
bathroom, right?
yes. Maybe a bench along the way to sit down in. So this feels like more my speed because we can still have these nature encounters, but it is, like you said, a little more structured and, we don't have to navigate it on our own. We don't have to figure that out. It's already laid out for us. And so
Yes.
it feels like a really, really good type of place for my family.
It's very accessible, no matter what your comfort
Yeah.
with nature is. And even if you love to go out on the rural mountain hike, that's your jam and that's your comfort zone, that's great. But there's still I think, some really cool experiences for you and your kids at a nature center as well. And this is just a
Yeah.
top-notch one. So it's worth checking
Yeah,
out.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, if you enjoyed today's episode, we would be so grateful if you would leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening. And Kat, where can they find you?
You can find me at Recreating Camp on Instagram and recreatingcamp.com. Where can they find you, Kayla?
You can find me at scratchmadesimple_ on Instagram and at scratchmadesimple on TikTok. And you can find us at Homeschooling Down South on all the socials. And if you have a place you want us to check out or a nature site you want to tell us about, or even if you know somebody who's really moving and shaking in the homeschool community, we'd love to hear about it. You can email us at hello@homeschoolingdownsouth.com.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all. You know that sweet song that opens our show? That's Sarah Ernst, the voice and heart behind Wild Pickle Press, where stories and songs grow wild and free. You might know her from the Little Forest song, or her books Where is Wild, Shout No, and Keeper of the Woods, or maybe from her poetry collection, Poetry for the Wild and Curious Ones. Sarah crafts melodies and tales that remind us how magical the world still is, full of bees and bravery, rainbows and rhythm. We are so proud to celebrate her work and honored to have her song Together as the backdrop for this podcast. Visit wildpicklepress.com and follow at Wild Pickle Press on Facebook and Instagram, where imagination takes root and wonder grows.